Hey everybody, welcome to another carving video. So in this one, I'm going to be carving an A-frame cabin scene in shallow relief. It's carved out of white pine and is approximately 12 inches by 10 inches in size. If you guys are interested in following along, you can. You can go to my website and you can download the pattern or design for free. Also, within the description below, I'll have a list of the tools and equipment that I use to create this project. So with that being said, let's get carving. So I'm going to outline the right side of the cabin there, just that little section, and then I'm going to start detailing and carving the face of the cabin. So I'm going to go into detailing the cabin now, carving in the windows and doors and the siding. And I'm going to start off by outlining the overhang of the roof. And I'm going to do the majority of this cabin with my V-gouge. I'm not going to use my Dremel for any outlining or, I guess, stop cuts. The Dremel can be a little wild, I guess, if you don't have like total control. If you're not paying attention, it can be really easy to make a very significant mistake with the Dremel. To prevent that, I'm just going to use hand tools for the cabin here. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the triangle window here. Okay, now I'm gonna outline the 2 windows and doors, doing the same thing. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start tapering and cleaning up those hard lines that were made from the V-gouge. And so I'm going to use my very shallow gouge here. And what my suggestion is to not go directly, at least with the overhang of the roof, do not go specifically perpendicular to that roof line, which would be with the grain. I would do some sort of cross cutting or diagonal cutting along that edge, because if you go perpendicular and you go in hard and you slip, that roof line is gonna chip very easily, so you have to be really careful. So I'm gonna do more of like a cross diagonal cut here. I'm probably gonna lose some of my lines here, but that's not a huge deal because the spacing is exactly the same all the way up. So I would consider it fairly easy to redraw the lines. And technically, which makes sense, is there's going to be more of a shadow with the roof overhang compared to the trim in the windows. There's going to be a slight taper from the window to the roof line, but you're not going to really notice that when you look at it. It's just going to give the roof line a little bit more depth. All right, before I get too far into this, I'm gonna redraw the lines back here. A great way to do this is I use a popsicle stick or some kind of thin stick that you can trim if you need to. And I'll just kind of make a template here. Just like that. And then I'll just redraw the lines. Now if you want to go like this, you can, just to make sure that they're straight across, but now that I have those lines established, once I kind of lose these lines, then I can use the top lines to help me draw the lines towards the bottom. So I'm just going to keep outlining here and tapering. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up those outlines around the roof and the windows and doors. Just with my V-gouge, there's still a slight angle that was made there, so I'm going to make sure that's nice and straight, and I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to attempt it with my V-gouge kind of tilted on its side, similar to like undercutting, but I'm just going to make sure the one side of the V-gouge is vertical. I'm going to try that first. If that doesn't work, I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is the stop cut with a gouge. Okay, that worked well. This tip up here, I'm gonna have to use my gouge though, my stop cut method. That's too skinny, or that's too tight of a spot for that gouge, so I'm gonna have to use my skew to clean up that stop cut. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing around the windows and door. Now I'm going to redraw the lines that I lost. Before I carve in the siding here, I'm just going to establish this bottom line, kind of the, I guess, the concrete slab, you could call it. I'm going to establish the right side trim, the vertical trim. So then once I'm done with that, then I'm going to carve in the siding. This is actually going to be established with the door too. So I'll have to blend that in when I start working on the door. I'm going to use my sideways V-gouge technique again just to flatten out that one side. Then this area is a little bit more tricky. I'll have to blend that and kind of taper that properly with a smaller gouge. Okay, and this line here was a mistake, so just ignore that line, as well as this line here along the roof. Okay, go back to my shallow gouge and kind of make some tapers and clean that up. I apologize, the last probably 14 minutes of the video, there's no volume. I'm not sure what exactly happened there, but basically what I'm doing is I'm carving in the siding, and I'm using a small V gouge and carving right on the line there, and that's going to be my low point. And then I want the siding to look kind of like a log cabin, similar to that. So basically in between the lines is going to be my high point, and then I'm going to taper down it to the lines on both sides to give it a slight roundness to it. So this is the V gouge that I'm using to do that. It's a small 3mm. Mine is bent. Yours does not have to be bent. I just really like the bent, actually. It just gives me more control. I can park my thumb right behind it, the bend like that, and it just helps me with the control. So. And then to do the tapering, I'm using a small shallow gouge, 5mm, and I'm just going parallel with the lines. It's going to be far too difficult to try to do perpendicular cuts with this, so you're going to want to go parallel with the lines. And you're going to want to make the cuts as clean as possible, because you don't want to do any sanding, really. Like, you want to minimize the sanding as much as you possibly can. And then what I'm doing here by the bush is I'm just kind of going a little bit deeper just to get underneath that and to kind of blend it a little bit better with the bush. Then I'm using that same gouge here just to clean up these little tiny corners. You're obviously going to have to be careful around the windows and doors. You don't want to plunge into the side of the trim there. Otherwise, you're gonna have an impression there that you're not going to want. So you're going to have to stop early and then kind of do almost like a chip carving to clean up that. around this side section here too. Now I'm going to go through and finish it off by doing one more pass with my small V-gouge in the low spots of the siding here, just to give it that little extra depth and to just kind of clean it up.